Welcome back, everybody. Things have been heating up for Luna Classic lately. We're going to go over some burn updates. We're going to look at some burn schedules from other locations other than Binance, and then we're going to dive into some price and chart analysis and just look at the overall capability of Luna Classic to have a serious move to the upside here coming up. So let's dive right in. The first thing that I want to address is obviously not so surprising. It's the fact that we've completed our first Luna Classic burn on Binance. So burning all the trading fees collected from Luna Classic spot and margin trading pairs. Huge announcement because this is now going to be done weekly. So if we break this down and actually take a look at what that actually entailed, it was basically a burn of almost 5.6 billion Luna Classic tokens. Now, previously that would take weeks to get to that amount, and this happened in 1 week and essentially 1 day because they calculated it from 9/21 to 10/2 and then burnt all those trading fees retrospectively. So if we actually take a look at what that meant for the overall burn chart of Luna Classic, you're going to see some pretty interesting stuff. So if we take a look here, you're going to see, obviously we had some steady burn rates, starting from the birth of Luna Classic. And then we got, some jumps when we had, some big accounts send large amounts of Luna Classic to that burner wallet address. But look at what happens when we get that Binance burn, right? So we had a lot of volume coming in through Binance, coming through those trading and spot margin fees, and that led to a large rise in the amount of Luna Classic that's been burned. And to put this in a little bit of perspective, if you look at the total supply of Luna Classic that's been burnt, about a week ago, it was close to half of that, right? So we're seeing this really pick up the pace of Luna Classic burns, and obviously burning is so important because it's going to really be one of the only levers Luna Classic has to increase its price, obviously, other than us going back into a bull market and Bitcoin and Ethereum having, a great year. This is really the only other way that Luna Classic is going to get and derive value, especially since right now there isn't too much utility with the token, if we're being honest with ourselves. But right now, we're looking at a 624 million Luna Classic burn rate per day, and it actually has this neat calculator on this website to see how many years it would take to burn, let's say 10% or 20%. And, we're looking at quite some time. But if this type of burn growth is expected to continue, if Binance can keep doing this, if the volume keeps up, we're going to see some very interesting burn statistics and decreasing supply from Luna Classic. Now, obviously, bear in mind, this is still a very risky project. It doesn't really have much utility, to be honest, if we're being frank with ourselves. But at the same time, it is interesting to see that we actually have some solid burn mechanisms in place finally for Luna Classic. We're not relying on big accounts to just send to burner addresses. We actually have a machine going in that Binance volume and burning trading fees. So with that, I also want to take a look at how trading volume has been spiking. So we're seeing across, both of these Binance pairings, we're seeing close to 50% of all of the transaction volume coming from Binance for all that trading being done with Luna Classic. So if this keeps up, obviously the more volume we get, the more burns we get, and obviously the more burns we get, the better chance that Luna Classic will actually be successful in the long run and see some upward price movement. Now, I also want to highlight that KuCoin is that kind of close third with about 8.3% of that total volume. That's been on the up and up as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means for Luna Classic here in a second. So going over to this article, just a couple of things that I want to touch on here because obviously, Binance isn't going to be able to do it by itself. It's a great step in the right direction. A lot of burns coming from them that we wouldn't have had without Binance. And obviously, we'll take those burns. But I also want to stress that the Luna Classic community is also pushing KuCoin to adopt that kind of same burning mechanism on top of actually asking Coinbase to list the token, given that kind of intense high rate of volume we've been seeing just over the last couple of weeks and months. So if we had not only Binance instituting that burning mechanism, but then also on top of that KuCoin, obviously then we're talking about kind of exponentially boosting that rate of burn per day, which obviously right now sits at about 624 million. So it's all about boosting that and then getting a huge windfall of burns week after week as these trading fees get burned via Binance and other exchanges. So the other thing I wanted to note is that it was reported that Lithosphere developers Cash Labs will burn 2.5 trillion Luna Classic in their new Finesse series game and have facilitated 50 to 100 million to facilitate that burn. Now, this could be really, really interesting because 2.5 trillion would be the single largest burn Luna Classic has ever seen, and that would really have a dramatic impact on the price per Luna Classic token. Now, obviously, this isn't a guarantee, but if this is something that can not only happen once, but be replicated, we'd be looking at burning more than 50% of the Luna Classic token supply in, you know, a matter of a year or less, right? And that could be really, really impactful for the price of Luna Classic. Again, the biggest lever we have is to just keep burning at this point. If it had legitimate use cases right now, legitimate ways that it could really be used outside of, you know, just trading and speculating, obviously we'd be having a different conversation. But right now it's really about getting those burns as high as possible to have action on the price. Now, I do want to step into some chart analysis really, really quick and just take a look at where we're going with price. Again, huge caveat here, right? We're talking about a very, very risky altcoin with not too much real world utility. And we're talking about being in a bear market, right? So obviously a lot of this is kind of, you know, take it with a grain of salt. It's not, you know, TA with this type of token really is just, you know, somewhat of a navigator. It's not necessarily to be taken at face value, right? So a couple of things, a couple of key levels we're going to be looking at right here. First of all, we've been in this descending channel just, you know, through this week. We've seen kind of four red days in a row. Obviously, you know, that current burn didn't necessarily do too much for the price yet, but hopefully as that, you know, increases exponentially over time, maybe we'll see some action there. But as we come out of this descending channel, you know, there's a decent chance that we bounce off of here and maybe test this again and stand on top. Obviously, that's not a guarantee, but that would be the bullish movement that we would see out of this descending channel. Now, the more bearish movement we would see out of this descending channel is a break through the bottom and a sitting on this 236 fib. If we see Bitcoin go below, let's say 17, 15K around that area, we'd probably be looking at a drop below this support line and then playing in between here and potentially dropping below the 0.0 and kind of resetting that fib scale and probably finding support down here at the 0001. So there is obviously always opportunity to be headed to the downside, but I will say that this is not, you know, a first time for Luna Classic, right? We've seen, you know, major drops in value. This is, you know, 50%, and then all the way down here is about 68, 69% that we saw. And, you know, we've seen, you know, similar drops over time where we had, you know, large consolidation periods and then a 50% drop over that, you know, longer period of time, right? So it's not, you know, it's not par for the course, but it's also not, you know, an oddity to see this level of Jurassic movement up from our all-time high. So looking at where we could be headed next, again, we're battling this kind of descending channel. So if we're able to bounce off of here and break above this, we'd then be looking for the 382, which would be at 00033. And then hopefully we stand up that and then kind of consolidate a bit and then go for the next fib. And that would be kind of the bullish case over the next few weeks and months. But if we're looking at what could happen if we see a 15K Bitcoin or something even worse than that, obviously we'd likely fall through this support and then, you know, test this range and probably test this 0.0 fib area as we consolidate here. So just some areas to keep your eye on. I think the next couple of days are going to be critical in terms of what Luna Classic will do out of this descending triangle, just descending channel. And then from there, we'll kind of see what Bitcoin does, where the burns come in, and then kind of get an idea of whether we're going to go into kind of a consolidation phase again, similar to what we did, over here, or if we're going to look at, you know, some more downward movement like we saw here, or we see a big burn and we get one of these big green candles, right? So a lot of things could happen here. Again, most of it is reliant on how quickly we can get this burn metric day over day up as high as possible, because that's what's going to create the momentum for the price action. But hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if you want me to cover anything else in the comments. Would love to get your thoughts on Luna Classic. Obviously a very, very risky crypto since there isn't really too much real world utility yet. But at the same time, obviously potential for upward movement with that burn. So thank you guys very much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.